Hi, it's Andy here. Welcome to Serenity in the Trenches, finding self-acceptance and true belonging when things around you feel like they're falling apart. This is the first episode where I've asked some of my favourite people what positively drives you in your day-to-day life. I don't know about you, but this is not really something I actively think about all that often. However, it's the first of 6 questions I recently asked 23 lovely friends that I've made since starting my work and serving gently rebellious introverts and highly sensitive creative type people through my business and podcast. And, so much of life is spent reacting to things, numbing ourselves, getting through. We move from one thing to the next, hoping that, we might find happiness, contentment and peace at some point down the line. The hope that we might experience is often kind of vague. It's a hope that, things might, change one day, or we might believe that if things were different, we'd have the answer, we'd have the solution, we'd have the secret. That's what we're missing. We need to get to that. But much of this kind of comes down to this kind of abstract, magical thinking that keeps us in this place of dissatisfaction and frustration, preventing us from engaging with life in a kind of deep and true way where we're kind of aware of and in sync with the things that positively drive us in our daily lives. What I've discovered since asking this question is that we can find positive drives even amidst the pain and the chaos and the confusion of life. And positivity is not about being unrealistic. It's not about being vague or kind of naively optimistic. It's about finding joy where we are, wherever we are, whatever is before us. And this is the foundation of change, both for us individually, for our inner worlds, and also for the world out there, for the outer world. Life often throws up things that mean it doesn't quite go to plan. It places surprises in our paths. When this happens, what's kind of left over? What fills the gaps? When everything feels like it's falling apart, what's left? What are the anchors that we kind of stick to? We're surrounded by messages that tell us we're supposed to feel different. You need this or that, and you'll find happiness and fulfillment if you get it. You've got to find your passion. You've got to live a life of meaning. You've got to discover your purpose. I don't know about you, but I find these really stressful messages to hear. They can make us berate ourselves, beat ourselves up, because they feel so impossible to kind of ever fulfill, ever answer, ever find a way through. But there's a theme that emerges over and over in the responses to this question, an openness to the messiness of mystery and creativity, which is often uncovered through coming face to face with the struggles and pain of everyday life, and an enjoyment of the most basic, simple aspects of life as well. Out of these things, we find perspective about both our smallness on the one hand and our potential on the other hand.
I've had my life turn upside down a couple of times, in the past a number of decades, and I think I would often feel really discouraged. Like, will I ever find that thing that works, that feels solid, that feels true, that I can invest my life in? And over time, as I regained a sense of identity and as I began to do the work that I love, I found that it wasn't about the creative product. It wasn't about the business or the book or whichever thing. It had more to do with understanding that I am, in my core, I'm a creative being, and that my life, that all of my life can be artful. My relationship with my children, my relationships with my friends, the work that I do, all of it can take on the form of this really cool art. And so that's what gets me up and helps me every day to stay focused and creative. And when I say focused, sometimes even being focused on not being focused, on resting.
I think this is such a powerful place to start. Jacob Norby has learned that his positive drive isn't about the final product. I love this. It's about the process, but even more fundamentally, it's about listening to the quiet voice within that's calling us home, calling us towards that artful life. And Boom Shikar captures this essence as well.
The main thing that drives me every single day, the reason I get up out of bed, the reason I go to sleep early so I can get up early again and do my work, is my creative work. And there's a couple of different things I do with it every single day, but the main thing that drives me every day is my creativity, my creative work, making sure that I do as much creative work on this planet before I die, as much as possible, right? And so a couple of things that I said are the videos that I do on my YouTube channel, Boom Shaka NFJ, and the writing that I do. So I write science fiction or novels in general, short novels, and I spend at least half an hour to an hour a day spending on my writing and then an hour a day reading, because obviously they're both interconnected with each other. Being around people that I love and just doing things that I love to do with my life. I'm so grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful that I get to live this life.
Creativity isn't just about making things. It's the way we interact with life itself. Kat Rose and Josie George nail this so beautifully when they highlight the word curiosity.
And for me, this is curiosity. This is something that really captures the feeling that I reach for, whether I'm feeling in a happy, creative, go-get mood, or whether I'm feeling a bit low energy, a bit apathetic. And it's also something that I reach for when I'm feeling resistance or some kind of fear. There's something about feeling curious about something that just drives me forward. I don't know why that is. If you're a creative person or consider yourself to be creative, then maybe you can relate to that feeling of, what happens if I do this thing? And it's also been just, like I said, very useful when I'm feeling a bit scared, like this might not go to plan. Curiosity tends to be the thing that I can reach for. And there's a kind of morbid curiosity to finding out what happens next.
Man, I love that question. It's going to resonate with some ideas later on as well. What happens next? Sometimes this is a question that we can ask of ourselves. Okay, Andy, right, what happens next? It's up to you. And it's one we can ask of life itself. All right, here I am. I'm ready to show up. What happens next? What's next for me? And when we're ready to listen, to play, to experiment, to explore, we can begin to really get into the possible answers to this question. And this resonates with what Josie says.
Curiosity is definitely my biggest source of energy and drive. For a long time, I had a card propped up by my bed for me to see when I opened my eyes in the morning. It said simply, "What might happen today?" Ultimately, I want to know the answer to that question. That's what drives me. It's about listening to that quiet voice that watches when something happens, that steps back and whispers, okay, so what could I choose to do next? What could I learn or create from this place? And what might that inspire in turn? How could I change the way that other people are experiencing their day? And then what might grow from there? Shall we try something and see? Curiosity isn't obsessed with the perfect path or trying to make everything go my way. It's far more interested in the fact that all these choices and opportunities exist in the first place. It's rifling through experience as if it's a treasure chest. It's a wide open place that just wants to see and learn and maybe start some magic. It's fundamentally playful. I love it because I don't have to wait for it to arrive. Curiosity is a behaviour and a habit rather than a mood. It's a decision to act in a certain way. I don't have to get rid of any other feeling first in order to experience it. I can be lonely and curious, anxious and curious, joyful and curious. However I'm feeling, whatever's happening, I can always look closely, try something, ask a new question and be open to a new answer. And there's so much energy in it. It generates energy. As someone who lives with significant fatigue and disability, I find this immensely comforting. It feels like this ever-present power source I can draw on at any time that will never run out. I especially love those little moments of insight and divergent thought that come from relaxing into experiences in this way, using them as springboards into a big new world. It means I get to look again and have my mind blown. It means I get to start my day over and over.
This is just so beautiful and encouraging. I love to just let that idea wash over me, relaxing into the experiences of life. The stuff that we might be tempted to fight, to control, to see no meaning in. But with curiosity as our kind of guiding light, it brings us to the present moment, where there's always something to learn about ourselves, about other people, and about the world. And each moment is a springboard into the next, into the new, the never-ending moulding and transformation of who we are. Jacqueline Strickland reinforces this point to me as well. She says that even if feeling confused, sad, anxious, it's about always asking, what is there for me to learn in this moment? And drawing on one of her favourite philosophers, Mark Nepo, who encourages the question, what wants my heart's attention? What wants my heart's attention? I love this. It's about bringing into alignment our thinking and our feeling, how we think about what we're noticing what we notice. And this takes time, it takes discernment, and it takes a kind of rebellion against the fast-paced, attention-deficient, squirrel-chasing world, because it really requires us to stop, to listen, to be open to what we might find, even within ourselves. Not building up walls to reinforce the beliefs that we already have and the opinions we want to hold on to.
Exploring things, learning new things. So many paths to follow, interesting things luring me. And I love to change thoughts with people, chat and wonder things. Currently mostly online. I think the Haven Cafe, for example, is a perfect, friendly and safe place to discuss all kind of things. Monthly themes, sharing different thoughts and point of views of almost anything.
Man, Tula is a wonderful example of someone who follows that vision. She has deep, intuitive, creative drive. She sees beauty in the world. Her photography is just one example of how she manages to encapsulate her vision, of what she sees when she looks at the enchanting landscapes of home in Finland, for example. And I especially experienced this in her kind of macro photography as she zones in on specific things, capturing that idea of noticing what you notice and truly communicating that through a gentle creative expression. I know many other artists who do this as well. They find the magic in the most mundane, everyday, kind of normal spaces, like capturing the beauty of a brick, the eternal truth found within a simple phrase, or the profound awe that's found within the kind of, the everyday busyness of an insect. Actually just looking at something that we've seen 100 times a day, but never really batted an eyelid, to actually just zone in on the meaning and the beauty of something ordinary takes on a new significance. And we can live this kind of artful life. But it starts when we begin to notice what we notice.
It's telling stories and then sharing them. Whether it's my own story or it's helping a client share a story. I know that stories can give us healing, redemption, forgiveness. So that's the one thing that drives me positively. And stories aren't always pretty. They aren't always happy. They can be really dark. But I think knowing that there's that hope, there's going to be hope. There's going to be something positive from the experience. I think that's what drives me positively. Because working on a novel, I'm revising, and it's been a lot of work. But knowing that book will encourage one other person, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only ever person who reads it. Even in that case, it's still transformation for me.
Jim Woods is a great encourager. He's truly brought to life this idea that we don't just tell stories, we live them. And this is really a very cool thing to think about and let kind of just wash over you. The story doesn't end until it ends. coming back to that question that keeps us turning the pages and bringing us back to that book or TV show next time. What happens next? And for me, this is also underpinned by something that Alice says.
Faith, as in the opposite of fear. It's almost an emotional thing. Like when I tune into that part of me that isn't afraid, that bit of me always knows what I need to do in order to feel more aligned in my life, to feel like I have the motivation to keep on going. Don't always like the answer that it gives me. It often feels uncomfortable, scary, but it's what keeps me focused. It's what keeps me knowing that I'm doing the right thing.
So this is part of what feeds that question, that what happens next? Often we know what needs to happen. It's within us, but it can take some courage and it can take some space, some time to actually allow ourselves, to give ourselves permission to hear it, to hear that thing that is calling out from within. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the outcome is. The biggest success is just doing it, whatever it might be. Showing up, committing, getting involved, just allowing ourselves to rest, to focus on being unfocused, as Jacob said. And so here I move to my friend Neil Hughes, who is a multi-potentialite. He's a writer, a comedian, a programmer, all sorts of things, and including a flipping great guy. And I love what he has to say about his positive drive.
I think on one level I have absolutely no idea, because it's not like I spend every minute of every day feeling super motivated and connected with the cosmic purpose of the universe or anything. Like most days I'm just getting through, and I think I'm driven by very basic instincts. Not like the film. I mean, I want a nice lunch. I want to spend time with my girlfriend. I want to be comfortable. I want to be entertained. I want to have fun with my friends. And these sort of simple drives are what drives me through most days. And I think that's okay. I'm kind of suspicious of the idea that I ought to be feeling some deep cosmic purpose at all times, but there are obviously times that I am positively driven, even in my day-to-day life. And, to go and create something, to do something that helps people, however cliche that sounds. I think these are the things that push me beyond merely existing in a comfortable fashion, which I think is probably a large part of my general motivation.
If you follow me for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of the TV show Twin Peaks. And this reminds me of something that Special Agent Dale Cooper says.
Harry, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Every day, once a day, give yourself a present. Don't plan it. Don't wait for it. Just let it happen. It could be a new shirt at the men's store, a cat nap in your office chair, or 2 cups of good, hot black coffee.
I love it. Simple pleasures. Receive them like a gift. Cameron Aaron is on this same page as well.
The simple pleasures like coffee, I look forward to waking up and drinking my coffee. Sunshine, just like the new day, the newness of a new day, of like new possibilities, new opportunities, like the unknown. We don't know what there could be today. What is today going to be like? And so it's really like the newness, I think, and the possibility, the potential, the opportunity, and then like the little pleasures of like, my TV show's on tomorrow, right? Or I gotta drink my coffee again in the morning, or I'm gonna go have this for dinner tomorrow or something, right? It's the little pleasures and newness and possibility.
I just absolutely love that this question that we're answering in this show can be met with such a rich variety of responses. It says to me that this pressure to find my passion, to live with meaning, to discover my purpose or whatever, is really kind of a needlessly stressful thing to be anchored to. Positive drive comes from tiny things, those unexpected gifts of small things through the day, and it comes through bigger things as well, as Lauren Sapala describes.
This one's easy for me, but it's hard at the same time. I would have to say I've always had a big vision. Ever since I was a young girl, I really knew that I wanted to do something big in the world. I wanted to serve thousands of people. I wanted to make an impact. I was not at all sure how I wanted to do that or what the details would be, but I knew that I wanted to do that. And that has carried me along even through my darkest times.
This is great because it brings us into this transcendent space where we want to make a difference, to impact the world in a positive way and leave it better off as a result of our presence here. Once again, this requires acts of faith over fear, to live with this vision at the heart of her work. Lauren is constantly renewing her commitment to it. This idea of values and vision is something Michaela Chung talks about as well.
Well, for me, for a long time, it's been really important to always have a bigger why and to keep that, front and center so that it guides everything I do and gives me a real sense of purpose. And so that means like having a bigger vision for what I want to create in the next year. Right now, I've actually been pursuing stand-up comedy for the last year and a half. So I have a lot of goals for that each day I'm moving towards those. And also I have kind of bigger life goals and values that are important to me, like connection and creative expression. So, each day is informed by that. I try to always have some form of creative expression each day, always try to live my values as far as, connecting with people and helping introverts to connect with people. And also health. Health is really important to me, physical health and mental health. So I try to weave that into my daily life.
This shows that the why that drives us isn't something we just kind of stumble upon. It's something we work at through curiosity, again, by noticing what we notice and working out which paths we want to move down intentionally with our lives. And then there comes a point of commitment through which we can make goals and anchor to tangible destinations that will lead us onward, not so we can necessarily get to those destinations, but so we can move in the direction that we feel calling from within us.
As a coach, of course, one of the things that's really important to me is facilitating and being witness and guide to other people's transformation. And that's extremely satisfying. And that absolutely is part of what gets me out of bed and keeps me going because I see the real difference. One of the things that also keeps me going is recognizing the difference in myself as I do that. Every time I have a conversation, every time I do something like this, every time I coach a client, there's something new that comes out in me. And I feel like I come closer to articulating my values and living my values and figuring out just who I am in this world and what I have to contribute. And as those pieces of myself come to the surface, I feel this connection to my bigger arc of evolution and transformation. And just by seeing that incremental progress, even when it feels like I'm running to stand still, it helps me to remember that, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and that change is happening. Change is happening with other people, change is happening with me. And that keeps me feeling alive and motivated and putting one foot in front of the other.
This is such a cool thing to hear. There is meaning for Beth that comes from being a part of other people's transformation. But it's not just that she gets to see it happen and feel good about the role she's played and being able to see it and all that sort of stuff. She herself is transformed by it. And that's amazing. She changes from one day to the next, one client to the next, one session to the next. The evolution and growth of aligning more and more to the integrity of who she is as a person. And within this, there's no rush. It can't be rushed. It's that lifelong arc of personal transformation. Nancy Ankovitz is also a coach, and through her work with people around their careers and as a speaker with her audiences, she says she feels most alive when I get into a flow state with my clients and audiences. By welcoming them to trust their gifts and wisdom, I aim to create a safe environment. They often relax enough to get focused, so their fearlessness outpaces their fear and their creativity emerges. We enjoy a melding of minds that results in practical outcomes like branding statements for LinkedIn, preparation for important presentations, plans for building their professional networks, and answers to tough job interview questions. I enjoy being a mirror to reflect their best selves, a walking thesaurus, and even a bit of a quiet cheerleader. This is great. I love this. And Sarah Santacroce picks up on similar themes again for her own positive drive. And she's found a specific message that she wants to help people that she works with hear.
I would say I'm, generally speaking, quite an optimistic person. So I am pretty self-driven. I'm a generator. So yes, I generate my own energy, and I'm usually quite motivated throughout the day, or getting up in the morning and just, getting at it and keep wanting to change the world. So I think right now what it is for me is this new mission that I'm working on, the Gentle Business Revolution, where I aim to bring more empathy and kindness to the business world. So really bring more of the gentleness that we introverts maybe naturally have, bring more of that into the business world. Because oftentimes, unfortunately, what we hear and see out there are the loudest voices, right? The loudest message. And that's not always the kindest. So yes, I'm on this mission to change that. And the way I see that I have an impact is with marketing.
This is something I resonate with. I mean, any gentle revolution and I'm in. But the drive here is one that connects to kind of younger versions of ourselves. The thought that I wish there was someone to tell me something different when I was starting out. This is a powerful one for me, being that voice, creating that space. And in so doing, changing the world to reflect those quiet voices that we that have maybe been drowned out by the loudest voices in the room. Dr. Tracy Cooper says, I feel drawn by the need to reinvent meaning in my life day to day. Each day is new and open to new possibilities, and I never quite know what might come my way if I'm sowing seeds on a continual basis. I'm also driven by a need to be of service to others in ways that empowers them and raises consciousness. Again, just absolutely love what Tracy Cooper says here. We need to reconnect with this every day, the idea of reinventing meaning in our lives daily, again and again. And this is liberating, especially against those ideas I've mentioned, that all or nothing sense of, we've got to find our passion, uncover our purpose, discover our meaning. These are evolving things. They change, they ebb, they flow, they're fluid. And if we believe that we've reached the destination, then we're in trouble. That's when we get into the realm of stagnation. We can develop dogmatic ways of looking at the world and thinking about things that are devoid of dynamic meaning and purpose. We get tethered to old ideas and ways of thinking. We become welded to opinions which are no longer serving our actual deep personal core values, just because we haven't updated our thinking. We haven't allowed ourselves to think differently, to think what we actually think, to notice what we actually notice. And rather than staying fresh, we just keep persisting with old ways of doing things. And this is when we get stuck, we get frustrated, we get potentially bitter and resentful, comparing ourselves with others, envying others, getting cynical about the things that other people are doing, the things that the youth of today are doing and all that sort of stuff. And Mark Pierce alludes to this idea of stagnation when he talks about what drives him personally and positively now.
Whether I'm in the studio working on a song with them or I'm perhaps coaching somebody to help them get creatively unstuck, I get up every day knowing that the work that I do actually impacts another life. In my earlier career, I worked a lot in corporate settings where there was no real personal interaction, certainly with the clients that I work with. So everything was kind of meaningless to me. But now I get to work with individuals, I get to work one-on-one, and I get to work creatively. And seeing people come to life and regain confidence in themselves and who they are, that's what I really love doing.
Yeah, man, I've met many people struggling with this confusion over the years. They work in their dream field. Like everything on paper looks great, yet there's something wrong. They feel disillusioned. It's not what they thought it would be. They don't feel what they thought they would feel. You know, I've known musicians who've completely fallen out of love with music. They've fulfilled the dream of becoming a full-time musician. They're playing all the time. They're out on the road performing. But this dream has kind of led them to a life playing soulless function gigs for corporate clients. Many have given up. They lost their sense of wonder and love because it got stale, it got cumbersome, it got boring. It was a lot of work with no payoff. And so the light went out. But I can't help but feel they just saw things through the wrong lens. They got the wrong end of the stick. Listened to the wrong voices.
I love to help people, to give them a sense of belonging. So many people, especially introverts, are made to feel like they're broken or that there's something wrong with them just because they're different from most other people. But that's so not true. I'm driven by this desire to help people understand that just because they're different doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that you need to change just to suit the people around you, to make them feel more comfortable. So many things are designed for outgoing, extroverted people, and it's time for a change. It's time that people recognize that quiet, introverted people are just as powerful, just as smart, just as amazing as their extroverted counterparts.
I love that from Sarah Kuhn. And Leah Burkhart has also found her people.
I mean, it's a whole bunch of things, but I would start by saying it has to do with kind of like trying to navigate and move in the world in alignment with my values. And the things that I value most, it would include my health. I am a health coach, so so my health, my relationships, like purposeful work. And in my case, purposeful work means working with other highly sensitive people and introverts to kind of develop health and self-care protocols and kind of build habits that create a thriving system for a highly sensitive person. And then also just personal growth. You know, I love learning new things, and I love growing, and I love trying new things, and figuring out how to do that in a way that doesn't make me go crazy is kind of fun. And then also just trying to get the message out to other highly sensitive people that, you know, we don't have to choose between living really small and having our health and our stability, or living big but having to sacrifice our health to do it.
So this idea of health has really struck me as well. You know, Michaela Chung mentioned this as well. Health can become a real positive driver for all of us, whatever that might look like for us as individuals. You know, as a value, we can place it in the context of pretty much whatever we're doing. We can ask the question, is this contributing to my health? It might be physical, it might be emotional, it might be spiritual, or something else entirely. Whatever the parameters of health we're looking at are for us. Whatever the most important pillars of health, this is a much better indicator of something's true value and purpose than, say, you know, is this a good going to give me a good return on my investment? Is this a productive use of my time? Whatever. To ask, how is this contributing to my physical, emotional, or spiritual well-being? You know, when we know the answer to this question, we're free to just be centered and present. With health driving us from one thing to the next, we're free to do things that might otherwise feel like a waste of time, a waste of energy, a waste of money. And I want to finish with Tracy Gillett's response to this question, because it kind of brings all of these things together quite succinctly.
Really, it's my family, my dog, and I'd say my clients. I have 3 kids who I love dearly. I love my partner, who's a great man. And I love my clients. I really love working with my introverted, more sensitive people. They're my people. I get their worlds, I get their struggles, and it is really rewarding to help them start to see the greatness in them. And and the same with my kids. They're, you know, lovely humans, and just to get to watch them grow, watch them learn, and as I see more of their personalities come out, the introversion in one of them, highly sensitive, one of them extrovert, and one of them, so it's actually quite cool for that. And then my dog, a very extroverted, lovely chocolate lab. So all of that gives me great pleasure and joy in my life.
So it's the simple things, it's the big things, it's the small things, it's the mundane things. It's the exciting things. It's curiosity, creativity, service, contribution. Having a nice lunch, noticing, observing, helping, our relationships, the work that we do, getting a little rebellious, our feeling, our learning, our responding. It's everything and it's nothing. And this is a really powerful thought to reflect on. We're all driven by different things. And ultimately, it's not the what, but the how that matters. How do our lives reflect the drives that underpin them? What drives you in your everyday life? How does your life reflect those things you notice, things you value, the things you treasure most? I'd absolutely love to hear your own response to this question. Feel free to get in touch, by any means on social media, through the website, andymort.com, or The Haven, or email me, andy@andymort.com. I'm on Twitter and Facebook and all the other usual places as well. And so, that's the kind of conclusion to this question. In the next part of the series, I'm going to ask, how do you know when it's time to recharge your batteries? And there's some fascinating responses to that one. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you very soon.